A cube has shaded triangles on 3 of its faces. Here is the net of the cube. Draw in the 2 missing shaded triangles. So we can see a shaded triangle on the right, and if we imagine that that's this face here on the net, then this face will be the base, so we'll fold underneath, under the bottom. This face here will be hidden, because if this is the face on the right, the base will be underneath, and then this face will be hidden around the back. This face will be hidden as well, because it will be round this side. And then this face that we can see on the left will be this face here. So that will move around and join the face on the right, so that the shaded triangle is on this point here. And then the top of the cube will be this face here, and because that will fold up and over, we need to colour in this triangle here as well. This graph shows the outside temperature from 4 PM to 10 PM on a day in winter. At what time was the temperature -2 degrees? So we can find -2, draw a line across, and then draw a line up from where it hits the line on our line graph. We can see that this is 8 o'clock or 8 PM and this 9 PM. So in the middle we will have 8:30 PM. So this line is in the middle of 8:30 and 9 PM. So that's 8:45 PM. Now, how many degrees did the temperature drop from 5 PM to 7 PM? So we can see that the temperature at 5 PM was 2 degrees and the temperature at 7 PM was -1. So that's a difference, that's a drop of 3 degrees. A newspaper reported 6 million people to the nearest million watched a football match on television. What is the smallest number of people that could have watched the football match on television? That's 5,500,000. Because if we're rounding to the nearest million, we find our millions place, which is always the 7th digit from the right, and then look at the digit to the right, so look at the 100,000s digit. If it's 5 or more, we round up. So 5 is the smallest digit, that means we round up, and when we round up, this 5 in the millions will become a 6. And then we want zeros in the 10,000s, thousands, hundreds, tens and ones, because we want the number to be as small as possible. 250,000 people visited a theme park in 1 year. 15% of the people visited in April and 40% of the people visited in August. How many people visited the park in the rest of the year? So we know that 15% visited in April and 40% in August. So that means 55% either visited in April or August, but we want the percentage or the total number of people who visited in the rest of the year. Now percentages need to add up to 100%. So if we subtract the total percentage for April and August, that means 45% visited in the rest of the year. Now a percentage is a fraction with a denominator of 100. So to find the number of people who visited the park, we need to find 45 hundredths of 250,000. So we can divide by the denominator, and 250,000 divided by 100 is 2,500. Because when we're dividing, we can cancel our end zeros, and then 2,500 divided by 1 is 2,500. So that's dividing by the denominator, and now we need to multiply by the numerator. So work out 2,500 times 45. Now what we can do is just work out 25 times 45 and then put 2 zeros on the end of our answer. So we can use column multiplication, and then when we put the 2 zeros back on, that gives us 112,500 people. Amy thought of a number. She added 0.5 to her number and then doubled the result. Then she subtracted 0.5 and doubled the new result. Her final answer was 61. What number did Amy start with? So this is a working backwards question. They've given us the number at the end and we need to work out the number at the start. So what we can do is draw a diagram to show what happened. She thought of a number, she added 0.5 and then doubled the result, so double means times 2. Then she subtracted 0.5 and doubled the new result. Her final answer was 61. What number did Amy start with? So we can work backwards, and it's a good idea to draw something like this. So you don't need to draw the boxes because that might take quite a lot of time, but I would suggest drawing the arrows and then on top of the arrows showing what's happened. So we know that the number at the end was 61, so we can work backwards. What times 2 is 61? Well, if we're working backwards, we can work out 61 divided by 2. So do the opposite or use the inverse. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 1 divided by 2 is 0, remainder 1. So we can extend with a point 0 and write the remainder 1 in front of our tenths digit. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So we have 30.5 in this box here. Then we have minus 0.5, so because we're working backwards, we can do the opposite and add 0.5. And 30.5 plus 0.5 is 31. Then we have times 2, so because we're working backwards, we can divide 31 by 2, and that gives us 15.5. And then, because we have plus 0.5, if we're working backwards, we can subtract 0.5, and that gives us the number we started with. So Amy started with 15. Write the missing numbers so that 2a plus 5b equals 30. One is done for you. So we're told that 2a plus 5b equals 30 when a is 0 and b is 6. And that makes sense because 2a means 2 times a. So if a is 0, 2 times 0 is 0. And then if b is 6, 5 times 6 is 30. And 0 plus 30 is 30. Now 2a plus 5b equals 30 when a is 5 and b is what? Well, if a is 5, we have 2 times 5, so that's 10, and then 5 times b, and that needs to add up to 30. Now 10 plus 20 is 30, so we need to think 5 times what is 20? Well, 5 times 4 is 20, so b must be 4. 2 times 5 is 10, 5 times 4 is 20, and 10 plus 20 is 30. Now 2a plus 5b equals 30 when a is 15 and b is what? Well, if a is 15, 2a means 2 times 15, and 2 times 15 is 30. So 30 plus 0 is 30, and that means we must have 5b as 5 times 0, so b is 0. 2a is 2 times 15, so 30. 5b is 5 times 0, so 0, and 30 plus 0 is 30. Some children work out how much money 2 shopkeepers get from selling fruit. They use pie charts to show this. Mrs. Binns gets £350 selling bananas. Estimate how much she gets selling oranges. So we're looking at Mrs. Binns's pie chart, so this one here, and we can see that the section for oranges is this section here. Now we're told that she gets £350 from selling bananas, and the section of the pie chart that's for bananas is 1, 2, 3, nearly 4 times as large. So the amount for oranges will be just over a quarter of 350. So it's about a quarter of 360. And 360 divided by 4 is 90. So I would estimate that she gets £90 from selling oranges. But an estimate of between £80 and £100 will get you the mark for this question. Now, Mrs. Binns gets a total of £1,000 and Mr. Adams gets a total of £800. Estimate how much more Mrs. Binns gets than Mr. Adams from selling peaches. So we can see on Mrs. Binns's pie chart that peaches make up about a quarter of the total pie chart. So we can find 1/4 of £1,000. That's £250 because 1,000 divided by 4 is 250. And if we look at Mr. Adams's pie chart, again we can see that peaches makes up 1/4 of the pie chart. So because he gets a total of £800, we can find 1/4 of 800. So that's 200 because 800 divided by 4 is 200. But the question asks, estimate how much more. So we need to find the difference, which means we can use subtraction, and £250 minus £200 is £50. So Mrs. Binns gets £50 more from selling peaches because she gets £250 and Mr. Adams only gets £200. The area of this square is 36 centimetres squared. The square is cut into quarters to create 4 identical rectangles. What is the perimeter of one of the small rectangles? So we need to remember that the area is how much space a shape takes up, and we can find the area of a square by multiplying the width of the square by itself. Now 6 times 6 is 36, so the square has lengths of 6 centimetres. That means that this length will be 6 centimetres and this length at the bottom will still be 6 centimetres, but we need to find these other lengths because we need to find the perimeter, and the perimeter is the total distance around the outside of a shape. So we have a length of 6 that has been cut into 4. So we need to divide 6 by 4 to find out how wide our rectangles are. 6 divided by 4 is 1 remainder 2, so we can extend with a 0.0, copy up the decimal point, and write our remainder 2 in front of the 10th digit. Now 20 divided by 4 is 5, so that means the width of the rectangle is 1.5 centimetres, and that makes sense because 1.5 times 4 is 6, and the original length of the rectangle, or square rather, was 6 centimetres. So to find the perimeter, we need to work out 6 plus 1.5 plus 6 plus 1.5. 6 plus 6 is 12, 1.5 plus 1.5 is 3, and 12 plus 3 is 15. So the perimeter is 15 centimetres. Write in the missing number. 50 divided by something equals 2.5. So here it's the divisor, or the second number in our division calculation, that's missing. And when the second number is missing, we still use division to find our missing number. So we need to work out 50 divided by 2.5. So first, what is 5 divided by 2.5? Well, let's work out our 2.5 times table. If we have 2.5 plus 2.5, that gives us 5.0. So 2 times 2.5 is 5, because 5.0 is the same as 5. If we have 0.0 on the end, then we have a whole number. So 5 divided by 2.5 is 2, and 0 divided by 2.5 is 0. So our missing number is 20. If we know that 2 times 2.5 is 5, then 20 times 2.5 will be 50. So that means 50 divided by 2.5 is 20, and 50 divided by 20 is 2.5. 20% of Megan's number is 64. What is 50% of Megan's number? So 100%, this top bar, represents Megan's number, and 10% will make 100%, because 10 times 10 is 100. Now Megan has 20%, so that's two 10%. So 20% is 64, which means that we can find 10% by finding half of 64, or dividing 64 by 2, and that gives us 32. So if 20% is 64, that means 10% is 32, but we want to find 50%, and that's the same as 5 10%. So to work out 50%, if we know that 10% is 32, we can multiply 32 by 5, because 10% times 5 is 50%, and 32 times 5 is 160, so that must be 50% of Megan's number. There is another way of working this out. 20% is 20 hundredths, but we can simplify that to 2 tenths. So we know that 2 tenths, or 20%, of Megan's number is 64. So we can write what we know as a missing number problem. Now usually, to find a fraction of a number, we divide denominator times top. But here, because it's a missing number problem, we need to divide by the numerator, and 64 divided by 2 is 32, and then we can multiply that by the denominator, and 32 times 10 is 320. So Megan's number is 320, but we want to know 50% of Megan's number, so 50% of 320. 50% is the same as 1/2, and 1/2 of 320 is 160, because 320 divided by 2 is 160,